Issue 276. After we see a recap that Eggman tried to drain Sonic's energy and Eggman disappeared, we see Sonic trying to stop a train which threatens to destroy Station Square. Despite him clearly looking stressed out, he is still written to say that this isn't a real challenge. Sonic thinks that dodging lasers and staying at constant 600 miles per hour in the snow is tougher than he lets on, showing humility. And when another train comes along with a civilian saying that this is the wrong way, Techno tells Sonic over the phone that there's a weak spot by the cabin that'll end its power, though the momentum will still crash it into the other train. Sonic moves the train with his vortex move, and he sweats looking tired, thinking that Tails can do the next one. Then Sonic's sucked up by a tractor beam, and Vermin taunts him as he's trapped in something by the arms. Then we see Eggman panicking in front of him, saying because of his skinnier size that his chaos energy levels are still leaking and he's almost about to revert to being Kintobor. Wait, I thought he was shrunken away and disappeared. Did he find materials in another microverse to come back from there and thus pull a fang? Ugh. He wants to use Sonic as a battery for himself. And then Sonic says he's tried this already. He's been anticipating this, and he only took a dive to stop him from endangering innocents. Sonic moves his chair next to Eggman somehow, and breaks out of the bonds because he vibrated his molecules fast enough. With Sonic still sweating, he sees Vermin running away. Sonic says that he's all about confidence, and Sonic never shows weakness. With Eggman only able to mutter deliriously, Sonic says that this is anticlimactic, thinking of him as desperate and sloppy, and acknowledging that he has nothing epic to say. This isn't how Eggman was supposed to be taken down. I think I preferred how it was in Exit Sonic, where it made sense. Then we see Sonic bringing Kintobor to meet Kintobor the AI. So either this is contradicting the series' happy ending, or somehow I'm expected to believe Kintobor turned back into Eggman after this, and was disappeared in the exact same way as last time again. At least we get to see the Kintobors meeting each other, and showing their egos as they call each other handsome and want to try some equations. Techno asks Sonic if he's sure Kintobor won't revert back to Robotnik, and Sonic just says, "You know, you got real cold these days, Techno." She seems to be acting the same to me. Sonic says that since Kintobor's his friend, he doesn't want to lose him again. I don't understand this story. In the next story, which has gigantic load times, we start out seeing a robot trooper calling the Anti-Chaotix operating at full capacity fighting them. You know, I would have preferred seeing a story with the actual Anti-Chaotix, seeing evil versions of the Chaotix, which we only got to see in Other M. But no, that would have required effort of Flynn to make evil Moebius versions of them. Vector complains that this is the 8th time this week they've been woken up early by a robot. Mighty punches the robot, unable to attack it because of its anti-vibration armor or something. Espio goes invisible, and the robot brags that it's been equipped by Eggman to handle each of their special skills. So it's able to see Espio with infrared vision and hits him with a laser. This is pretty brilliant, it's like the Predicto bot. Vector figures out that all the badniks they've fought in the past week have been analyzing their skills, and he tells the Chaotix to do the last thing the robot would expect. Charmy, despite Vector not wanting it to do this, flies towards the robot, and the robot says he's the most unpredictable of the Chaotix and blasts him with a laser. I saw a comment on the website of SC Online say, "I can't believe Charmy's dead." So naturally this got me pretty tense right away because I read the entire webcomic with the knowledge that Charmy could eventually die. I'm surprised it took this long. The robot says that his accuracy with predictions is getting lower as Charmy keeps screaming and flying around it. The robot says that its reboot failed from a confusing fatal error, and Charmy complains about a headache. Vector asks him how he's feeling and what happened. You clearly saw him get hit by a laser, Vector. Mighty tells Vector he looks fine and to quit fussing or they might think he cares. Vector wants to find out if there's any more weird effects from that beam, and for some reason the story ends with Charmy disappearing into mist. At least the text panel at the bottom mentions bees, but still, I expected his death to just be the laser hitting him, or a concussion from it afterwards, leading to him being realistically sad about it. but this was just confusing. Why did he disappear later and not right away? I admire the restraint of the writers waiting this long to try to do this to the least popular charmy ever. In the next story, we see that it's not always easy to be a feared pirate while also playing babysitter to an 8-year-old girl like Cream. I really love the idea that Cream has a good luck power, that's making her more useful. Also, Cream has to be within a certain range of Plunder for the effect to last, otherwise his bad luck returns within minutes. So we see him playing Tea Party with her, smiling nervously while she holds a Tails doll. And we see Plunder waiting in front of the girl's bathroom with his arms crossed, thinking that having to be with her all the time is his own misfortune. Why? I mean, I don't think she ever said anything that annoyed him. He says to Filch that she's driving him crazy. We're not seeing that. Other than, like, the Tea Party insulting his manliness. It's like she's driving him crazy, rather than making him have fatherly instincts towards her, which I'd expect it would be a lot more sweet, but this is the same pirate who murdered Filch in the first place, so I guess we're supposed to believe he doesn't have a soft side. Plunder says that he's hoping that Cream being just outside his door with her headphones on is close enough to him. Huh, Cream has headphones. Plunder at least admits that it's not like Cream is bad or he doesn't like her. That's sweet. Filch makes me smile as he teases him about Cream's hopscotch tournament last week that Plunder lost. Plunder says that the tournament was rigged because he doesn't have 2 proper legs. And then he says that the professor's been doing research and found something interesting, so he wants Filch to get him. I smiled some more at the person Filch was dragging behind him saying ow, and Filch saying, oh sorry, I forgot he can't walk through walls. That's such a natural result of being able to go through walls so much. Like, all Plunder's stories have this, like, hilarious feel to them. I love seeing, like, the pirate stuff. It turns out the professor they're speaking of isn't Kintobor. Filch reveals, giving us some actual world building for once, that Metropolis was built on the ruins of an ancient civilization. And one of the leading deities of it was the Maladjuster, a god who removed curses. Wait, wouldn't that mean that he just maladjusts people to make them maladjusted? And the ruins on these old charts still house the god's temple. Being desperate enough to believe it right away, Plunder agrees to set sail there. I grin some more, seeing the anchor of Plunder's ship in the pavement of Metropolis with the text box snarking, not an ideal place to park a pirate ship. It would have flowed more naturally if it said, not the best place, instead. Simpson briefly wonders if they're allowed to park on double yellow lines, and of course is told to shut up, since he's supposed to be a criminal and not care. He pulls a ring from the grass which reveals a trap door, though Simpson briefly loses his arm just from pulling the door, only to get it back easily. Plunder and his crew climb down the ladder into a tunnel, with Simpson giggling at him saying booby trap. And Cream accidentally steps on the trap because I guess her good luck power only affects other people, causing her to be flung out of the grotto. Plunder that genre blindly decides not to go look for her and reunite with his good luck charm, which spells doom for the rest of his plan. I get that he thinks he spent too much time with her and threatens his manliness, but still. In the next story, we see Ray, who apparently can't fly in Fleetway. Lame. He complains about the TV showing him nothing but superheroes, telling it to shut up and rolling his eyes. Certainly a refreshing take on Ray the Flying Squirrel's character. At least Ray admits in the narration that he does appreciate them and approves of them, and even attended one of the fan events, getting a free comic. But he's still frustrated that the heroes are everywhere. He can't talk to anyone without them praising the heroes or saying they want hair like Knuckles. Is he jealous of them? He's reminding me of one of the minor villains, whose whole motivation was that the heroes were getting too much attention. After he thinks that he wants a normal day, he gets threatened with being badnickified, and then Tails saves him. Ray takes off from Tails, lampshading that he's bragging by talking it loud, saying, who is he even talking to? In the park, Ray wishes he could have a normal life, seeing Amy attack some vicious vermin cosplayer, and he runs away frustrated. He thinks that you go weeks without seeing a superhero in person, and then suddenly 2 come along at once. Why doesn't he just move? It seems like the vast majority of the heroes all live in the same little area, Metropolis, so just move. Then after Badnik asks Ray where Sonic went, Ray tells him he went a certain way. Sonic trashes the Badnik effortlessly, and after Sonic calls him buddy, thanking him for the distraction, Ray says that he's had enough of heroes for one day. He just wanted the Badniks out of the way. Surprisingly, we don't continue the story with seeing Sonic complain about that, and instead we see Ray look bored that the TV is talking about the heroes and think, what a surprise. And the story ends with the newspaper saying that Knuckles is planning to bring Guardian robots to Metropolis, claiming that nothing could go wrong. The only thing saving this repetitive, boring story is that it's a familiar Sonic character, Ray. And even then, is this really Ray? He's supposed to be a Flying Squirrel. He'd be one of the heroes, not this thing. In the next story, we see Christmas in Metropolis and Emerald Hill, where Sonic gets socks as a present from Tails. That's a pretty lame gift. Maybe you should have told him what you wanted, Sonic. At least he was surprisingly sweet about it, saying, "How did you know?" instead of being mad. He really warmed up to Tails, which makes sense as Tails proved himself as the hero of Mobius, and he stayed loyal to him when no one else did. So he realized how much he cares about him and how valuable he is. I wish he said that, though. Sonic runs away, saying that he's got everyone else to visit, being social rather than think he's too cool to be with his friends, like when he returned from the Microverse finally. So again, maybe the smear campaign gave him character development, letting him appreciate his friends. He says while giving the peace sign, "It's been real, kiddo." And after Amy defeats a badnik with a crossbow easily, Sonic looks really confused because he sees the exact same thing happening to him again, with Tails giving him socks and saying the same thing. Sonic is deja vu, so I also get that and remember the story by Mike Gallagher in Flynn's run where they did a Groundhog Day story, which was just a lame excuse to reuse panels over and over again. This is only better because Sonic's dialogues and expressions are different. This is just as much filler as the previous story so far, because it's repetition. And the third time, Sonic's annoyed with Tails, saying, "Now there's a surprise." Unfortunately, because fuck variety and interesting storytelling, Tails doesn't react at all to Sonic being rude to him, saying the exact same thing with the same expression as Sonic runs off angrily. At least he still calls him little buddy and tells him not to worry even when looking angry. The third time that he sees someone collapse in the snow with gifts around him, Sonic finally notices, actually that's pretty rude not helping him up. It took him until the third time to think about this, and even then, the idea of being a hero and helping the guy up didn't even occur to him. That's Fleetway Sonic for you. As I wonder if the time loop is the fault of the badnik Amy's destroying. Finally, Tails reacts differently as Sonic says before he gets the gift angrily, "Let me guess, socks?" And Tails makes me feel bad for him by looking sad, asking how he knew. Sonic says he already got him a pair. Fortunately, after Sonic tells Tails about the time loop, Tails believes him. He did have his own experience with time being weird with reverse time after all. Then Sonic and Tails go to the clock tower. Sonic says that time repeats itself when it strikes midnight. They see someone dressed like a stereotypical wizard with a Star Rod wand, and Sonic smirks at seeing him with witty dialogue. What does the magician have to gain in doing this to Sonic? He says that he had wished it could be Christmas every day. That doesn't explain why he decided to replay the same minute over and over again, and Sonic was the only one who noticed it. I guess it didn't all take place in the course of a few minutes. I mean, we did see the sky go from dusk to night, but it's all in the span of one page. The magician says that at Christmas, everyone's at their kindest, as even Vermin hasn't been mean yet. Why isn't Vermin in jail? Sonic pounds his fists together to Tails his displeasure, saying that, "I'd really like to get to Boxing Day one way or another, and if that means I have to start by boxing your ears, that's fine by me, pal." Tails tells the magician that if everyone's just nice because they're predestined to be, it's hollow. And then he has a much better reasoning, because he says that if it's Christmas every day, what makes it special? The magician says he just wanted his gift to improve the world, and then he says that he wants to make a better Mobius. So how would this not lead to him trying to brainwash people to not do anything evil? It would have made more sense for him to do it than Mr. Gold. I don't understand this issue. The first story is in complete contradiction with just one story ago, because Eggman went from shrinking into nothing to suddenly being back just fine. That's a retcon. He was supposed to revert to him in the future. Eggman didn't need to be a part of this plot. Though I did love seeing the two Kintabors react to each other, and well at that. The second story has a robot perfectly designed to fight the Chaotix, make Charmy disappear. I would have preferred a story about the literal Anti-Chaotix, but no, of course not. If they want to kill Charmy off, or at least make him become undetectable like Sonic when an anti-matter machine exploded at him, then why didn't he become that way the instant he was hit with the laser? I love the idea that Cream the Rabbit has a good luck power and was spending all sorts of cute moments with Plunder having a tea party and a hopscotch tournament. And then he discovers he could potentially get rid of the curse at an ancient temple. But the end of the story was marked by a complete idiot ball because Plunder ditched his good luck charm at a crucial moment, and nobody tried to talk sense into him, dooming him to bad luck and possibly failure. And I bet he wouldn't even decide to go reunite with her the minute the first bad luck would happen to him, because then the story wouldn't go in the way that the writer wants. Ray's story has Ray's character derailed into a boring, typical person who apparently can't fly, which is out of character. And speaking of that, he's tired of hearing about superheroes all the time. So much that I spent the whole story waiting for him to turn evil. Penders wrote Ray the Flying Squirrel better than this because he was a cute, stuttering little kid. The only thing making the boring and repetitive story remotely engaging was that the protagonist was Ray, and not some boring normal Mobian, but he might as well be. What a waste of both effort and of Ray. This story could have been about something else. And the final story at least justifies the time loop as a magician thinking Christmas should be every day. But it all falls apart because there's no reason, aside from Gary's stew powers, that Sonic was the one who was able to notice the time loop and do something about it. If that's the case, everyone should have noticed it and freaked out. The time loop was just an excuse to reuse the same panels over and over. At the very least, Sonic was sweet to Tails in the story. Ultimately, the issue was disappointing and I felt underwhelmed, which is something I haven't felt about this comic in quite a long time, so that says a lot about how consistently good it is. The only part of it that was frustrating and questionable was the smear campaign arc. It really pissed me off that Sonic's friends were turned against him, like Vector. Like, I could understand if the people in general hated him, because he doesn't deserve hero worship with his attitude. But all of his friends, even Amy hating him? Really? Like, that is the black mark that makes SEC Online. It's still a good comic, very consistently good. But because the smear campaign arc got resolved, because it's not as bad as I thought, since it doesn't literally get rid of Sonic as a character forever after the smear campaign, I'd say this comic is worth it despite all that because of the consistent level of good quality and the originality. But because of the smear campaign arc, a part of me hesitates to call this the best Sonic comic. But it's at least not extremely predictable and gutless like the original Fleetway Sonic comic. So I'm torn. It's good and unique and original, though I expected that of a fan comic. Sonic has very good luck in that department.